So a few years ago, I was listening to an interview by Tinashe where she was speaking about. They asked her about a relationship. I don't remember if it was on Big Boy's show or it was the Breakfast Club, and her response was, "I'm not in a relationship because I don't have time for it."
I mean, right now, focused on my music.
So yeah,
Stay focused. Leave
Stay
love to the side for a little
Yeah.
bit.
yeah.
For a long time, I never used to understand celebrities when they would say things like that. Like, what do you mean you do not have time for your relationship? Because it often feels like all they have is time, right? For example, if you're an artist, if you make an album and then the next thing you have to do is go on media runs where they're doing all these interviews, they're showing up to podcasts, they're making music videos. It often felt for me as if after you are done, all you have to do is go home, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend can be there with you. So there is time. You can schedule time, right? People do have relationships, people do make it work. But I was looking at it based off of my position in the situation that I was in, because back then I was in college. So all I had was school, homework, sleep, wake up. So for me, time was something that I had. I was pretty young and I wasn't really on the hustle. It's only until now that I've started going to film school, that I've started working, that I've started doing a lot of things, that I'm realizing a lot of times you don't actually have time. You don't have time, not necessarily in the sense of, oh, you're super busy. It's just there's just a lot to do. For example, this weekend that I just had on Friday, I had school in the morning. So if I was to break it down for you, it's like I had school 9 to 5. I finished that at 5. I had to come home, prepare. So usually what I do every Friday is I have training at 8. But on this day I couldn't do it because I was covering an event from 10 until 2 a.m. So in order to do that, you have to come home, prepare the equipment that you need, the cameras, the batteries, making sure everything is well charged, making sure there's enough memory on the discs, on the SD cards, and just making sure everything is coordinated, talking to my partner like, oh, what time are we going to meet up? And what's the day going to look like? What type of shots are we planning on? Because he's editing it. So it's like, what do you want me to do? And then you talk through that, and that's your whole Friday gone. And on Saturday, what I had planned to do was I had to work from 8 until 5, and then I had a client coming in to record that podcast from 5 until 6:30ish, and then I had to go cover another birthday event from 7 until midnight, and wake up into Sunday, which is today, where I'm recording this video to talk to you guys. And then before I did this, I had to do some work as well just to earn extra income. So what I do to make money is I do deliveries, I do Uber, I do all that kind of stuff. So I had to dedicate time to do that just to have income from this weekend. And then after this, I have to go break down a script for a project that's coming up for school this week. And in these 3 days, I haven't, you can say rested, but I do sleep. I do have time to go to sleep. I sleep 6 to 8 hours every day like everybody else, and I try to work out and stuff like that. We made a video of how much is on my plate on my other videos. But the point that I'm trying to make is I listened to Anthony Joshua recently, and he was like, when you're pursuing success, it's very difficult to be in a relationship.
Competition.
Are you in a relationship?
I'm not in a relationship, no. Are
You're
you?
focused? No, I'm not. No.
I'm too focused on work. Is that what you are?
Yeah, I feel.
Oh, we've got so much in common.
No, we're boxing. I feel I never wanted to commit because I didn't want to go training and I'm busy arguing with my missus or something and my head's not in the game. So I just decided to keep my head like where it needs to be.
Is that a natural thing that's happened when you've gone to training and she's gone, what are you doing?
I've seen good relationships and I've seen bad ones.
Do you know what this screams to me?
What's that?
You haven't met the right woman.
Nah, I know some good women for sure. I know some really like amazing women, but it's me, it's not them.
Why? What do you mean? Because you're too focused. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
What tends to happen is you're focused on something, and if you're in a relationship, you come back from training, you come back from doing what you're doing, and your partner needs attention, and your partner is going through something that requires your full attention. You cannot give them that if you're focused on a certain thing that you're trying to do. So in my case, let's say in the past 3 days, let's say my girlfriend had a birthday on Saturday, right? I don't have the time to be there. I don't have the time to be thinking, oh, she needs a birthday present, oh, she needs this. And that's a whole situation that pops up and creates issues within a relationship that takes away the focus from the thing that we're trying to achieve. Now, a lot of people will look at you and be like, hey, you haven't met the right person. The thing is, I don't really feel like it's even about having the right person, but it's just about what your objectives are. We work in this industry. We want to be in this industry. It's about creativity, where it's about, your mind has to be focused on what you're trying to do. You're creating stories, you're creating things that don't exist, and you're trying to make money out of those things to survive. And just being in a relationship that takes away from what you're trying to do, I feel like is a disservice, which makes me understand now what Tinashe was talking about when she was like, it's difficult to be in a relationship. And I think that once you've gone down this path, it's either you meet someone who's within the industry or you meet someone who has an understanding. And I feel like even the people who are within the industry, there are a lot of things that people have to do in our industry just to survive, just to have a shot, an opportunity at a decent relationship, right? Certain things, people are networking, people are doing all these things. And you're not really that patient. You're not really, we are not really with that. Because for me, I have to be thinking of a script. I have to be doing all this, coordinating a lot of things. So it's like, do I have time for a relationship? I don't think so, And I'm like, I get it. But also it leaves me to question, like, what's the best way? How do you find time for the relationships that we need? Because I feel sometimes when I come home, I feel like, man, if I had someone waiting on me, if I had someone there just sometimes to talk to, sometimes to just hug you, it'll be a whole different experience. But once you've already set out on this journey, I feel like until you reach a certain pinnacle, then being in a relationship makes no sense. Because a lot of times when you look at relationships, people are looking for security, stability, and that's just something that doesn't come with this. Like, telling someone I'm a cinematographer, it's like, what does that even mean? And it's like, yeah, I have to work a lot before I start getting paid. And then you're like, oh, I'm a director. It's like, oh, cool job. You do amazing things, but it's like, do I, I have to come up with ideas. And it's like, I remember one time I was in a relationship and my partner would always complain that, like, you always have a book with you. It often feels like you're not here with me. And it's like, no, I do not know when ideas will come, and I have to write down those ideas when they come. And you don't want me to be on my phone when I'm with you, whereby I can type down my ideas. And I feel like in those instances, you need someone who has an understanding of who you are. But I just don't think we live in the day and age where people are patient enough to allow you to grow. So that's why I'm making this video. In the next section, what I'm just going to be doing is talking to different people who are on the pursuit of something that they deem as greatness. And
so first, you need to prioritize something. You either prioritize your career or you prioritize your relationship. So if you're choosing to prioritize your career over your relationship, then one has to go down, So I believe you don't have to necessarily avoid relationships completely, but you can get into relationships when you've attained or you've gotten to a height where you want to be, when you've built to a certain level where you don't have to be there every time. Basically, when you've created a system that works without you. Yeah, but he's absolutely right. I feel like Joey Bada said the same thing one time, because if you can't do two things at once. It's a myth when people say multitasking. You can't really multitask. It's not possible. You have to choose your career or you choose a relationship, because even a relationship is like a career. It's like a real work. You need to put in effort, put in attention, put in your mind, everything, communicate, so it takes your time too. It's kind of like a career. So I think he's right.
What I've seen, I think if you're waiting to achieve something, you're gonna be waiting your whole life, and you're gonna never be in a relationship then, because it's always like something, and then you get that, but then there's something else. It's kind of like you can't just keep on waiting to achieve your goal. But at the same time, if you're in that relationship, it needs to be a healthy relationship, because then you'll allow each other to focus on your individual needs. but I understand that how if the relationship is not healthy, then that would like take time and distract you. I can understand that as well. So.
But then when you work in our industry where you never have time,
I think majorly understanding matters a lot.
okay.
I think both of you have to understand yourself and know what you want. It's just a matter of communication. 2 minute communication will help a lot. It's not compulsory you talk all
Every
day,
day.
24 hours. Just 2 minutes alone should do if you understand the show.
So it's all about communication.
Yeah, that is.
All right.
When you have a goal and you really want to like focus on your job, if the person you're with supports you and knows that's the goal that you want to pursue with for your career, then that's the person you want to stay with. If they're getting jealous or insecure and they're constantly wanting attention and they feel like they can't trust you and they're taking away your focus from what you're trying to do, that's someone you can't waste your time with, because having a partner is helping each other through and through, whether you're with each other or whether you're not. And so if they're willing to sacrifice not being able to be with you for a bit or not being able to see you for your success or something you love, that's what true love is. You're doing it for your partner, not for yourself. So it depends. If you have a partner that cares about what you want to do as a career, they will make that sacrifice of being like, I understand, you can focus on that. But again, as if I said, like if they're kind of selfish or self-centered and they kind of want it being like, oh, you don't pay any attention to me. There is some level ground that you can make some time for them if you can. But if you have no time, they have to respect that. But again, for your part, say if I'm the one going in a career process, I can either make the choice to put all of my time in, or if I can put some of it in my work and some of it into my relationship, because you can balance as long as it's proper and you organize it, because you don't want to put too much time into your partner where you're not focusing onto your career, and you don't want to put too much time into your career where you're barely focusing onto your partner. So it depends on your partner. For my experience, it's I'm in school all the time. My boyfriend's working, so he understands that this is something I want to pursue. So he respects it. He lets me do me. He doesn't get insecure. He doesn't feel like, oh, who you with all the time. He understands and respects that this is my space, but I still make the time to see him and do things with him. So yeah, that's kind of my.
If like your partner is supporting you, then it's worth it to have a relationship. But if your partner is fucking you up, as you said already, like if you have a big thing coming up and she has her own agenda, and then you have to drop everything and focus on that, and it will just definitely bounce your focus, and you will definitely fuck up in your main thing what you were doing. But for me, I've been like in a relationship for a very long time, so it kind of works for us, because like I sacrificed before and then she did now. When she was studying, I was working hard, and now she's working and I'm studying, like going back to school. So it's kind of like working pretty well for us, I think. So for what I would say, like if your partner is supportive, then just go ahead, trust the partner. If not, then I mean, what are you gonna do? It's just a waste of.
My thoughts is I kind of agree with the boxer, not gonna lie. Like, and maybe that's why I'm not in a relationship, but like I'm busy with other things. I have other stuff going on, and like I can't. Like, if I have, like, some great opportunity or whatever that comes up, or some class I want to do, or some job, opportunity, I can't be like, oh, well, I can't do that because I already made plans with so-and-so. Like, I don't know, for me, like, right now, my career comes first, and then, like, those things come first. I mean, I think if you're in a relationship, that relationship has to be number one for you, and I'm just not in a place where I'm willing to put a relationship at number one, because right now, for me, like getting in the industry is like my number one priority, and just like doing a bunch of other stuff. Like I want to take classes, I want to learn stuff. This is Jacob, and yeah.
So do you feel like for someone in our industry, it's better to meet someone in the space who would understand? Like you essentially work 24/7, or
Well, I think yes and no. like for example, I know a couple, one's a nurse and one's a firefighter, and because of that, yes, they're both on call, they have similar schedules, but also if one's working night shift, one's working day shift, they never see each other. And I think that might run into the same problem with the film industry, is if you're both always busy constantly in like this crazy schedule of the film industry, that you might not see each other, you might not make time for each other, you're just kind of passing each other by. So it's kind of good to just like, I mean, I don't want to be that person that's like, oh, one person should stay at home, but like, you know, you don't want to like never see them because you're both too busy, because then at that point you don't have a relationship, then you're just doing your job.
I always think to focus on your craft. You know what I mean? Forget about the girls and all of that. What I truly believe is that when you focus on your craft and you try to do 100, eventually, maybe even hopefully, the right one might come along the way. In the process, it's all in the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like to never like force things. You know what I mean? So the reason why I say this is because you could evolve in your craft when you're focusing on yourself, and at the same time not focusing on your energy on someone else. At the end, it might not be worth it, and then you might end up losing that girl, and the energy you could have put on yourself was you put it on the girl. So
Yeah.
End of the story is focus on yourself, evolve, and of course
So, Mr. Piri, what's your opinion on relationship whilst pursuing success?
I'd say that being in a relationship while you're pursuing success, it depends on who you're in a relationship with. Because if you're in a healthy relationship, that person's going to support you and only help you in achieving your goals. But if that person is not a positive person in your life and they're contributing to a toxic relationship, they're only going to hold you back from achieving your goals. So it's more so about the type of person you're in a relationship with, more so than if you're in a relationship or not.
Okay. And would you say in our industry it's better to be in a relationship with someone in the film industry or someone who's not in the film industry? Because I feel like it's hard to explain to someone what we do.
I mean, I feel like it's best to be in a relationship with somebody who's understanding of your job. There's a lot of jobs that require like a lot of hours and being away from home a lot. I think that, you know, having the conversation with your partner about what your common goals are and what that looks like in the immediate, in the short term and in the long term. And if you guys are on the same page, then you can proceed with that relationship. And if one person doesn't think they can handle that, then they have the option to leave, you know. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of jobs, including the film industry, where you're required to be away from home. But then also the individual has to kind of decide at what point that they're going to prioritize their family over their work, and they have to try to figure out ways that they're still working, but they're always taking time to spend time with their loved ones and with their partner and with their family and connecting and staying present. You can still do that. It does take time.
What's your perspective on pursuing a relationship while you're pursuing success? Like, so if you have a girlfriend and you're doing a film career, for instance,
Okay.
How do you manage that, or do you think you should manage it?
Emotional support, man. It's a good question, actually. I would say it depends what both parties are doing, first of all, right? I would say I think you should put your career maybe a little bit ahead of relationships, just because that's your future. If you got no career, then you're kind of a nobody in a sense, right? I don't know if you want to tag along, but it's bumpy road at the start. You want to get on the road when it's paved, not when it's dirt road. You know what I mean, Jacob?
So what have we been doing for the past 2 months?
Well, I've been dragging you along, but I feel bad about it now. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell people.
Well, I personally don't think that it's a distraction, because my girlfriend is quite supportive of my career and what I want to pursue, and I'm really supportive about her career and what she wants to pursue. So it depends on what relationship that you're in. So if the person that you're with doesn't support you and doesn't like support like what you want to do in your life, then that's on them, and that's gonna destroy your whole relationship. So as long as your partner is supportive and knows like what it's like to be working with or in love with someone who is in a certain job or line of job, then yeah.
And what advice would you give like to young people? Like, do you feel it's better to meet your partner before you start pursuing your career or during the journey? Because like I feel like it's difficult to explain to someone what we do if they're not in the industry.
Well, I haven't fully started my career and what I want to do, but I already know what it's going to be like, and I already told my girlfriend about it and told her like, oh yeah, sometimes I won't be able to be at home at a certain time, and like it's gonna take up a lot of time, but I know for sure I'm gonna have time for her. I'm gonna make time for her. So like I know for different places, different lines of work, it's different. Like if you want to be a doctor, that's going to take up a lot of time, and like you won't have enough time to spend with your loved ones.
These people have not been briefed. They have not been spoken to prior to this. This is something that I just saw Anthony Joshua speaking to Laura Woods, and it made me sort of have a deeper understanding of like, yeah, it makes sense that when you're pursuing something, it's especially great, something that's never been done before. I feel like unless you meet someone when you started, meeting someone whilst you're doing it is almost impossible because it's hard to understand. Like, how would I explain my weekend to a partner and hope for them to understand, and how crazy my weeks are also going to be? Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are in terms of when you're pursuing success. Do you have time for a relationship? And is it the ultimate sacrifice? All right.